Hi friends, under wave optics we are discussing about interference phenomena, in which in the last session we tried to find out the path difference in the case of interference in thin films by reflection, wherein I'll just briefly describe the previously seen diagram, where this is a transparent parallel thin film of thickness T with a refractive index mu. Let a monochromatic ray AB is incidenting at an angle of I with this normal at an angle of incidence I on the upper surface of the film. Now this ray here is reflecting in the upper surface as BE, ray 1, and part of it is transmitted as BC. So this BE and BC are the reflected and transmitted rays, light rays. Let the angle of refraction be R. The ray BC will be reflected into the film and emerge through film in the form of light, that is DF. DF is the emergent ray. So these two rays, BE and DF, these two rays superimpose, and depending on the path difference between them, they are producing interference patterns. So this mathematical approach helped us to arrive at the path difference as 2 mu t cos r, which we have seen as cosine law. Now in the current discussion, in continuation to this, we shall try to arrive at the conditions for bright and dark fringes. When we will have bright fringe and when we will have dark fringe. For a bright fringe, the superimposition should be constructive interference. For dark fringe, the interference should be destructive interference. So when we will get these interferences, this is what we have to arrive at now in the current discussion. Now if you see the point B, at point B, the reflection is occurring from the upper surface of the thin film. Now thin film itself is a denser medium. This is a rarer medium, air. This is a thin film, this is a denser medium. So at point B, the reflection is occurring from the upper surface of the thin film. Therefore, ray 1, the light ray 1 is undergoing an additional phase change of pi. This is coming like this. That is what you had observed, something like this. So there is an additional phase change. There is a phase change here. Interestingly, inside the film you only see crust. So there is no phase change here. But here there is a phase change. So what is the phase change for this? Pi only, na? So therefore, at point B, the reflection is occurring from the upper surface of the thin film. That is the denser medium. So therefore, this ray 1 is undergoing an additional phase change of pi. What is additional phase change of pi? If you see this, from this to this, if you take it as lambda, that is the wavelength, here it is happening. That means this is lambda by 2 and this is lambda by 2. So phase of pi is nothing but path difference of lambda by 2. So a phase change of pi is equal to path difference of lambda by 2. That is what you have to carefully observe. At this point it is occurring here. So therefore, if this total is the total wavelength lambda, this point naturally shows the displacement of lambda by 2 only. So for a phase change of pi, the path difference is lambda by 2. That is what we have to remember. So because at the point B, the light ray reflection is occurring from the upper surface of the film, that is in the denser medium, the ray 1 is undergoing an additional phase change of pi, which is equal to additional path difference of lambda by 2. This additional path difference is to what? To this, to 2 mu t cos r. This is an additional path difference. So what is the total path difference here? The total path difference will be 2 mu t cos r plus lambda by 2. Now we want constructive interference to take place. Let us see when it will happen. Now you have a trough and a crust. Here it can happen. Again, that means this is lambda. At lambda by 2, it cannot happen. At lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, 4 lambda, like that it can go. That means for multiples of lambda, ray 1 and ray 2, they can be in phase. Otherwise, they are out of phase. So, therefore, when the path difference is equal to integral multiple of lambda, that is lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, 4 lambda. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 are what? They are nothing but numbers. So, with the numbers, with the integers, you are multiplying. Therefore, we use the word integral multiple of lambda only. The ray 1 and 2 are meeting in phase, and therefore, when they are meeting in phase means they are undergoing constructive interference. So, when the total path difference is 2 mu t cos r plus additional phase path difference of lambda by 2, if constructive interference has to take place, both ray 1 and ray 2 should be meeting in phase. That can happen only when path difference is lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, 4 lambda, etc., n lambda, where n is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. That is integral multiple of lambda, like this. So, therefore, what is the condition for bright fringe? Bright fringe condition is this path difference of 2 mu t cos r plus lambda by 2 should be equal to n lambda. Understood or not? Clear? Now, mathematically, to simplify this, what we will try is, we will push this lambda by 2 to this side. Therefore, what will happen? 2 mu t cos r will be equal to n lambda minus lambda by 2. So, n lambda minus lambda by 2, you see the term in the right hand side. So, take an LCM and simplify, then that will become 2n minus 1 into lambda by 2. Where n is equal to, you can put n equal to 0, then this will become lambda by 2. If you put n equal to 1, it's 2n to 1 minus 1, that is lambda, 2n minus 1. n equal to 2, 4 minus 1, 3 lambda by 2, 4, like that it will come. So, this is the condition for formation of bright fringe. Similarly, we shall see what is the condition for dark fringe, that is destructive interference. To understand destructive interference, recollect what happened in constructive interference. So, in constructive interference, both rays have met in phase. Now, for destructive interference, ray 1 and ray 2 should meet in out of phase. It should not be in phase, it should be out of phase. How? So, destructive interference can occur only when both rays meet in out of phase. Earlier they met in lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, like that. Now it should be lambda by 2, 3 lambda by 2, 5 lambda by 2, like that. Means instead of integral multiple, it should be half integral multiple. So, that means path difference could be lambda by 2, 3 lambda by 2, 5 lambda by 2, etc., etc. That means path difference should be half integral multiple of or multiples of lambda. So, if full integral multiple is 2n minus 1 into lambda by 2, then half integral multiple will be, instead of 2n minus 1, this time you will get 2n plus 1, right? 2n minus 1 into lambda by 2 is giving you, I am repeating, 2n minus 1 into lambda by 2 is giving integral multiple. For half integral multiple, instead of minus 1, you will put plus 1. Therefore, what is the condition now? 2 mu t cos r is equal to 2 mu t cos r plus lambda by 2. That is the path difference must be equal to 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2. Again, for mathematical simplification, this lambda by 2, you shift it to the other side. This plus lambda by 2 will become minus lambda by 2. So, therefore, mathematically it will become 2 mu t cos r is equal to 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2 minus lambda by 2. So, if you calculate the LCM and simplify it, it becomes 2 mu t cos r is equal to n lambda, where you can put n equal to 0. That means you will get the condition for dark fringe. Depending on these two conditions, what are those two conditions? dark fringe condition is this one. This is the dark fringe condition and this is the bright fringe condition. So depending on bright fringe condition and the dark fringe conditions, you will be getting interference patterns consisting of both bright and dark fringes. This is about understanding the conditions for constructive and destructive interference patterns in a uniform thin film based on cosine law. But what about non-uniform thin film? If I want to see the interference pattern, both constructive and destructive interference, what could be the best example to understand interference patterns in non-uniform thin film? The best example to understand interference pattern in a non-uniform thin film is what is known as something what we call as Newton's rings. Newton's rings is a process or an experimental result that will be the best example to understand interference pattern in non-uniform thin film. So the result will be like this. So you will be getting rings like this. Alternate dark and bright fringes will be seen like this. Now how this will happen? Let us see. For this, what am I taking is, I am taking a plano-convex lens and I am taking a glass plate. I am just putting this plano-convex lens such that its convex surface is kept on a plano glass plate like this. Now, at this point, when viewed from top, you will find rings like this. So, when a plano-convex lens with its convex surface is placed on a plane glass plate, what will happen is, on either side, if you see this area between the convex surface and the glass plate, either side, see gradually you find an air film of increasing thickness. Here it is less, gradually it is increased. So therefore, you will find an air film of increasing thickness between the glass plate and the convex surface. So the thickness of the film at the point of contact here, the thickness of the film is almost 0. Now you will try to focus a monochromatic light to allow to fall on this normally and allow to reflect back, and in the reflected light you will see these fringes. So by keeping like this, what we are finding is an air film of increasing thickness is formed between the glass plate and the lens, and at the point of contact the thickness is 0. So now you are allowing a monochromatic light to fall normally. So that you are allowing. So you are allowing light to fall like this, and it is reflected back. The light falling normally to this surface, normal means perpendicular, and view it back through reflection. From top if you view, you will find concentric circles like this. So when a monochromatic light is allowed to fall normally and the film is viewed in the reflected light, you will find alternate dark and bright fringes which are concentric in nature, concentric around the point of contact at this point between the lens and the glass plate. They can be seen there. So these circular rings were originally discovered by the great man Newton himself, and therefore they were named after him and later called as Newton's rings. This is about the introduction you need to understand about Newton's rings. Now we shall see what is the experimental setup for this. The experimental setup for the formation of Newton's rings include something like a plano-convex lens. We shall take a plano-convex lens of large radius of curvature, and we will take two glass plates. One glass plate we name it as P, another glass plate you name it as G. You can have any name of your choice. And also we need a monochromatic light. So what we will do with these things is, so we will keep the plain glass plate like this. We call it as P. P is nothing but plain glass plate. On that we are keeping a plano-convex lens of large radius of curvature, let us call it as L. L is nothing but the plano-convex lens, such that it is kept in such a way that its convex surface is touching the glass plate at this point O, let us say. Now here you will find an air film. Here also you will find an air film. So let us suppose a monochromatic light is incidenting like this. This is monochromatic light. Monochromatic light means single wavelength. To ensure that the monochromatic light which is coming parallel to this to incident on this perpendicularly, so you have already taken another glass plate. So ensure that this glass plate is kept, let us say, like this at 45 degrees, such that these rays, incidenting rays, will be falling on this. So naturally this is 45. This is glass plate G. So you have ensured that the monochromatic light coming parallel to this is incidenting on another glass plate kept at an angle of 45 degrees, such that the rays falling on this at 45 degrees are reflected down. On falling on the surface of this, they get reflected back. These rays that are reflecting back like this, these are getting reflected upwards. So you can keep a microscope to keep your eye, and from here you will observe the rings. So what is happening here can be seen through the microscope here. So this is the experimental setup of the Newton's rings environment. I am repeating. For formation of Newton's rings, we have taken two things, two glass plates. One is a plano-convex lens, let us say L, which is of large radius of curvature, and we have taken two glass plates, glass plate P and another glass plate G, and also we have taken a monochromatic light. Now what we have done is like this. The plano-convex lens L of large radius of curvature is placed with its convex surface touching on the glass plate P at point O. So the lens make the contact with the plate at O. Okay? The monochromatic light, whatever we are taking, is allowed to fall on a glass plate G held at an angle of 45 degrees with the vertical. So the glass plate G naturally reflects normally a part of the incident light towards the air film. Here there is an air film. This air film is enclosed by the lens and the glass plate P. So air film is enclosed by the glass plate as well as lens. So this glass plate G reflects normally a part of the incident light towards the air film that is enclosed by the lens and the glass plate. So after incidenting, part of the light is reflected by the curved surface, this one. By the curved surface, that means it can pass through, and from the curved surface it is reflected back. So part of the light is reflected by the curved surface of the lens L, and a part is transmitted, part is reflected from here and here, and also part is transmitted inside into the air film. And after entering into the air film, it is again reflected back from the plane surface of the glass plate. So these reflected rays, that means the ray reflected from the surface of the convex surface of the lens, and the other ray parting through the surface and touching the glass plate, and from this it is again reflected back. These two rays interfere and give rise to interference pattern in the form of circular rings on the upper surface of the air film, which can be viewed through the microscope kept above near the eye for us. So this is how the experimental setup looks like for the formation of Newton's rings. Now we shall try to understand how these rings are formed in this convex surface and how they are getting transmitted and how they are overlapping on them. That is what we shall try to learn. Let us see how rings are forming. So let us say this is the bottom glass plate we have taken, and this is the contact point on which we are keeping a convex lens of large radius of curvature such that the convex surface is touching here. So many rays are falling like this. Consider one such ray. Let us say I am taking one incident ray. AB is the incident ray. So, part of incident monochromatic ray AB is reflected at B. What is B? Here it is glass and this is air. So therefore B will be, very interestingly, glass air boundary. B is nothing but glass air boundary. From here it is air, here it is glass. So from glass air boundary, this ray, let us say, gets reflected like this. You can call it as ray 1. You can draw a neat straight line instead of bending here. That is part. That means part of the incident ray AB of the monochromatic light is reflected at the point B, where B is nothing but at the glass air boundary in the form of ray 1. Right? With any additional phase. Right? The other part of it is transmitted like this into the air film. Let us call it as point C. Refracted along BC, because it is changing the medium. From glass to air, it is changing the medium. Therefore, here it is ray 1 reflection. BC is the refracted ray. Now, this refracted ray along BC and touching the point at C. What is C? C is again reverse of this. B is glass air boundary. C is air glass boundary. And again, it is transmitted into the glass, part of it. And from there, it is reflecting. This is ray 2. So, I am recapping. We have taken, call this as point O, a plain glass plate on which a plano-convex lens of large radius of curvature is kept in such a way that its convex surface is touching this at this point. So many rays are falling like this. How can you take this? For this, you try to recollect the picture of the Newton's rings experimental setup. Same thing only I am drawing. So many rays are falling. They are coming like this with this glass plate kept at 45. They are some of them are falling down. In that list, I have taken only one such ray. So AB is one such ray of the monochromatic light incidenting from air into the glass plate and it touching at point B. B is a point which is nothing but glass air boundary. From there, because it is in the same medium, so it is reflected at B, at this boundary, in the form of ray 1 into the same medium. So it is reflecting. So without any additional phase change, it is reflecting straight away. And at B again, some part, the other part of the light is transmitted into the other medium, that is air, and touching the glass plate at C in the film. Therefore, C is the point of Interestingly, again from here, it is air and it has to enter into glass. Therefore, it is air glass boundary. This is glass air boundary. This is air glass boundary. From here, it has to enter into the other medium after refraction because it is going from one medium to the other. So, part of the light transmitted along BC, refracted along BC, again reflected in the form of ray 2 with an additional phase change of pi, what we are talking about, or nothing but lambda by 2 path change or pi change of additional phase change, and it is reflecting back to ray 2. Now these two rays are getting superimposed on each other depending on the path difference, that is bright or dark fringes are being formed at this point O as these type of alternate dark and bright concentric rings which can be viewed from the microscope kept at the top of this experimental setup. So this is how Newton's rings are formed in this experiment. In fact, you have a practical experiment in your engineering physics lab about this. You will be supplied with these apparatus. You have to obtain the formation of the rings, which is very difficult. In fact, the lenses should be very clean. So you have to form the rings and then observe the concentric rings as alternate dark and bright fringes to be viewed from the eyepiece of the microscope kept at the above the surface. So this is how Newton's rings are formed. So you can just conclude this with this statement. Why these rings are formed? Whatever I have explained here is written here. So rings are formed due to interference between the light rays from the top and bottom surface of air film between the glass plate and the lens. So this is air film, this is air film. The top surface of air film is this, the bottom surface of air film is this. So rays reflected from the top and bottom surface of air film between the glass plate and the lens, they are interfering to form the rings that are known as Newton's rings. This is what you have to understand about what are Newton's rings and what is the experimental setup for the formation of Newton's rings and why the Newton's rings are forming. Based on this experimental process and the explanation of the reason for the formation of Newton's rings, through this explanation we will be able to arrive at the measurement of diameters of these rings or the radius of these rings, what is known as simply theory of Newton's rings. Based on this, having understood how rings are getting formed, and we shall try to understand geometrically also how do we measure the diameters of these rings and what is the theory involved in that. That we shall take it up in the next session, right?